Democrats shut out of power. They're being goaded by the angry left to do more than just sing and dance, even more than torch Teslas. J.B. Pritzker, who thinks he can be president and isn't very maha, says we need to go on the warpath against this tyrant in the White House.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption. But I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box. They must feel in their bones that when we survive this shameful episode of American history with our democracy intact, because we have no alternative but to do just that we will relegate their portraits to the museum halls reserved for tyrants and traitors.
Is the Democratic Party falling apart before our eyes? From fiery calls to punish Republicans with no peace, to a bizarre birthday protest with backup singers, and even a freshman congressman introducing impeachment articles against Trump, Democrats are grabbing headlines, but not for the right reasons. With Schumer clinging to power, Hillary warning of a coup, Reid blaming white voters, and Bernie doubling down on oligarchy, the left seems more focused on theater than solutions. Meanwhile, Americans are locking up shampoo and bracing for chaos. Has the Party of Progress turned into a political performance troupe? Or is this all part of a deeper strategy to reset power for 2028? Buckle up, this video breaks it all down. In an era where political discourse seems to revolve less around policy and more around personalities, performative protest, and media spectacle, Democrats are once again in the spotlight, but perhaps not for the reasons they'd prefer. With their approval ratings lagging and internal divisions on full display, the left finds itself embroiled in an identity crisis that's growing harder to ignore. This week, the political drama escalated when a Democratic activist took to the stage in front of a roaring crowd, delivering a fiery speech filled with urgency and defiance. The rhetoric was unmistakably combative. Republicans must not know a moment of peace, he declared passionately. We must confront their cruelty with everything we've got. Megaphones, microphones, ballots. We must punish them politically.
A House Democrat from Michigan just introduced articles of impeachment.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. Today, I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment. This isn't leadership, it's tyranny. If we let this stand, we are saying the president is above the law.
I'm just as confused as you are. I didn't even know that guy was a congressman. I'd never even seen him before until my staff told me, yeah, he's a member of Congress. He's been in Congress for 2 years.
In Michigan, a lesser-known freshman congressman, born outside the United States and relatively new to Capitol Hill, introduced 7 articles of impeachment against former President Donald Trump. His justification? A unanimous Supreme Court ruling combined with Trump's perceived threat to the democratic system. This is not leadership, it's tyranny, the congressman stated forcefully. And if we let this stand, we're saying the president is above the law. But the EC move sparked more confusion than momentum.
Democrats' approval's in the tank, and voters want their old, embarrassing politicians given the boot. But Chuck Schumer says he's going out like Dianne Feinstein.
You yourself has faced recent calls to retire or at least step down as Senate Democrats leader. You've said you're staying put. Tell our audience why. Would you explain that, please?
I'm staying put because I have been able to unite my caucus in a very strong fight against Trump. And that's what we have to do. And I'm doing it every day in every way.
It's no wonder Democrats are sick of the leadership. Hakeem Jeffries, he spent his Sunday on the steps of Capitol Hill staging a sit-in.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sure you didn't expect last year when thinking about this birthday that I would be your birthday date in this location.
Yes.
But this, of course, is the moment that we find ourselves in and delighted to be here because this is, as you've indicated, a moral moment.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, facing mounting pressure from his own party to step aside, made it clear he's staying put. Comparing himself to the late Senator Dianne Feinstein, Schumer claimed he's the glue keeping Democrats unified in their opposition to Trump. "I've been able to unite my caucus and lead the fight against Trump every single day," he said in a recent interview. But his words didn't seem to reassure his critics, who argue that the party's leadership has grown stale, out of touch, and ineffective in an era that demands more than symbolic resistance. Adding to the spectacle, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries marked his birthday with a protest on Capitol Hill. Dubbed a moral moment, the event featured calls for justice, reflections on the political climate, and even a sing-along. Jeffries smiled as he thanked supporters and acknowledged the unusual setting for a birthday celebration. "Didn't expect to be spending it here," he admitted, referencing the state of American democracy. Yet, despite the messaging, the event drew only a small crowd, raising questions about its impact and relevance beyond the Beltway.
Speaking of Bernie, he says Democrats' messaging it's a mess. But he's not changing his tune.
What Democrats lack right now is a vision for the future.
Let me ask you about something that your colleague, Senator Alyssa Slotkin, said. She said Democrats should stop using the term oligarchy because it's a phrase that doesn't resonate with all Americans. Are you missing a chance to speak to a wider audience, Senator?
Well, geez, we had 36,000 people out in Los Angeles, 34,000 people in Colorado. We had 30,000 people in Folsom, California, which is kind of a rural area. I think the American people are not quite as dumb as Ms. Slotkin thinks they are.
Even Bernie Sanders himself weighed in on his party's challenges. During a recent media appearance, Sanders acknowledged the Democrats' ongoing struggle to communicate a coherent vision. He refused to drop the word oligarchy despite suggestions that it fails to resonate with average Americans. "I think people are smarter than these consultants give them credit for," Sanders insisted. 34,000 people. In Colorado, 36,000 in LA, 30,000 in rural California. Those folks get it. He argued that the American public isn't as disengaged or unaware as Washington elites believe. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton resurfaced to warn yet again of Donald Trump's alleged authoritarian ambitions. "He's more determined than ever," she said. "We're in the middle of a slow-moving coup attempt." Her alarmist tone was matched.
Rachel Maddow, she swears Trump's really going to overthrow democracy this time. She promises.
I think that he is definitely more ambitious in terms of the kind of radical change he wants for the country. I do think we're in the middle of an attempted authoritarian overthrow of American democracy. I mean, I think everybody who predicted that was right, but I don't think he's any better at it.
And Joy Reid says, you know what the problem is? The whites.
We're a nation of the strongest parts of each community on earth. If you take that away and try to distill us just down to white folks, we'll be like Europe, an aging, slowly dying former empire. The Roman Empire didn't survive because it didn't have enough strength in its diversity. It suppressed its diversity and it died. If the U.S. wants to be the Roman Empire, keep voting the way you're voting, y'all.
Joy Reid, who linked the current political divide to race and historical power structures. Reid controversially claimed that America's real problem lies in its over-reliance on white voters. "If we strip away our diversity and try to define ourselves just by white folks," she argued, "we'll end up like the Roman Empire, collapsing under the weight of its own exclusivity." According to Reid, diversity isn't just a strength, it's a matter of national survival. Those comments provoked immediate backlash, particularly from conservative media figures. Jesse Waters mocked Reid's historical comparison, quipping that maybe Rome could have survived if it had implemented diversity, equity, and inclusion programs.